And welcome to part 2 of CSS animation. Now let's use that syntax that we learned in part 1 in a more complicated example, and then we'll talk about the do's and don'ts of browsers. Let's get started.
Here you can see the markup that we're starting with. It's just a simple div with the ID traffic light, and inside it we have 3 spans called light 1, light 2 and light 3. If we flip over to the CSS, there's some simple styles on the traffic light div to give it that dark grey and the rounded corners, and the 3 lights are all sharing the same border radius and box shadow and dimensions. They have display block and below we've set up on and each one it has its own off position color, which are these dark green, ambers and dark reds. And that's the base we're going to start off with. And let's begin the first animation. We'll call it green light, and you can imagine that this is going to be probably guess that this is the animation that switches the green light on and off at the correct time. And of course we start with the starting position being 0%, and I'm going to start with it in the off position, which is the dark green color, which is the 030 color, a very dark green. And we want that to quickly transition to the on position at 5% through the course of the animation. So we're going to put background and give it quite a bright on green color. I think 0AO I decided was probably about the right color for that green. And we want that green color to stay in that position for a considerable time. So let's make it 45% along the course of the animation, that it remains with the on position. Then we want it to transition, I guess, back to the off position, which is the dark green color. So we'll make that, we'll copy that original dark color and switch it back there at 50%, and you can see that is now the dark color. We can copy it again, and we want that dark color to remain in position all the way to the end of the animation, which is at 100%. And you can see as I run over the top of each color, the transition is pretty clear. Now let's just add it to light 3 and we'll actually see what happens. Green light is the name of the animation. Let's make the period that it runs over 12 seconds and infinite. I always misspell infinite. I don't know what it is about that word. And as you can see, the light's on and it switches off, and there we have it. Now obviously we need 2 more animations, one for each of the other lights. Luckily, like they do on all the good cooking shows, I just happened to have one prepared earlier. Amber light is I've set up here below. You can see at 45% it starts to ramp up to the bright amber color and then drops off again by 60, so it's got a much shorter lifespan than the green light. And if we apply that to light 2, you can see that we have our green, and for a moment we have a little bit of yellow, and there we have it. Now we'll jump down and add the red light animation. This one comes in just after the amber light finishes at 60%, or at 55%, ramps up to full red at 60, through to 95% it stays red, and then drops off again at the 100% mark. And if we apply that up to our light 1, the red light, you can see that we should have a working traffic light animation. 12 seconds, infinite. Can you get it right? Yes, he can. And our traffic light animates quite nicely now. As with the font property and the background property, you can use the shorthand notation, but sometimes it's advantageous to use the longhand version to just target individual parts of the property. So we're going to do that today to control the timeline from a single point. So if I make a rule that includes light 1, light 2 and light 3, and then just target the animation duration property, we can set the timeline. Let's set it to 4 seconds, and you can see that now that overrides our original timeline, and our traffic light looks a lot more frantic now. And that's a handy little thing to be able to do by structuring your rules in that way. And now we move on to everybody's favorite part: does it work in the browser? Now, I'm not going to lie to you, the code that I showed you on screen won't work by default in any browser at the moment. Chrome and Safari need the -WebKit prefix. That's actually not a bad situation, because Chrome has supported that since January of 2010, and Safari supported it since version 4, which was November 2009. Firefox need the -moz prefix. They've supported that syntax since June of 2011. Opera, the current shipping version of Opera, doesn't support CSS animation at all, but the Opera version 12, the beta that's been out since April of 2012, does support CSS animation beautifully with that prefix. And Microsoft's platform preview of IE10 began to support CSS animation with their -ms prefix since September of 2011. So it's a little bit of a mixed bag, but things are getting better every month at the moment. Now, if you're wondering why my code worked without any of these prefixes, you'll notice that I used Leah Varu's fantastic Dablet application to demo the code in, which incorporates her prefix-free JavaScript library. That allows me to keep the code completely clean, and it adds all the prefixes automatically.
And that's all we've got time for now. Check back in the coming weeks and we'll be covering more of the new and cool stuff in CSS3. But thanks for watching. Bye for now.